I feel like we have to show this video of Matt, your friend Debbie Wasserman Schulz, asking you one of the most ludicrous questions I've ever heard asked anyone in any hearing at all, about what an absolutist you are and where you draw the line in terms of what should be allowed on the internet.
All of us here today have heard the stories of the depths of human depravity from the Hamas attack, resulting in unthinkable brutality, including the mass murder of innocent Jews and civilians on October 7th. Witnessing such barbarity steals part of your humanity, and it demonstrates how hatred can drive humans to do unspeakable things to one another. And nowhere is hatred more evident than on social media. Since the October 7th attack, anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim hate speech has exploded online. In just 1 month after the attack, the hashtag Hitler was right appeared in over 46,000 posts. But the rhetoric isn't limited to hate speech and death threats. Jewish conspiracy theories and disinformation continually find safe harbor on social media platforms. Even the racist and anti-Semitic Great Replacement theory was recently amplified on Twitter/X by none other than its owner, Elon Musk, and the right-wing darling, Tucker Carlson. Terrorists use the platforms to terrorize target populations, and Hamas even used the personal accounts of hostages and victims to live stream their brutality to incite further violence. Mr. Taibbi, yes or no, should social media companies allow rape and murder to be live streamed by terrorists on their platforms in order to create fear and incite violence?
I believe that would violate their terms of service.
So your answer is no? It should not. They should not be allowed to do that.
Live stream rape and murder? No,
Right.
I think that would count as...
Good answer. Nice one. I'll play that again.
So your answer is no? It should not. They should not be allowed to do that.
Live stream rape and murder? No,
Right.
I think that would count as...
Now, look, I know they sent the IRS to your house, and I know, you're under oath, so you got to be careful about sarcasm. But how tempting was it to just be like, yes, I think they should be allowed to. In fact, that's why Elon and I had a falling out, because I called him a hypocrite. I said, you should really be allowing people to live stream their murders on Twitter.
Yeah, I probably should have. The problem is that the Congress is designed to make you like paranoid and intimidated. And so your instinct for humor, actually, I admire Schellenberger for this because he's able to do this. But I get so focused on like not saying the wrong thing. But yeah, I should have said something like that. I should have been like, yeah, no, I'm all for that. They should have. Right. They should bring back as many snuff films as possible. But I mean, come on, what a ridiculous tactic! Like, Are you in favor of the Sinaloa cartel chainsawing heads off on
right? I mean, well, she refers to something that clearly does not fall under free speech. Live streamed rape and murder is not a speech issue at all, and then she tries to use that to checkmate you here. There's a bit more.
Yeah.
Live stream rape and murder? No,
Right.
I think that would count as speech that would be prohibited under their terms of service.
Good. You do have absolutist policies, but
I do not have absolute. I do not have.
Please don't interrupt me. You have absolute. I've asked your question. You answered it. You do have absolutist policies. At least they have some limits. But I think a Homeland Security official.
With respect, Congresswoman, all journalists operate
reclaiming
under
my time.
limits.
If a Homeland Security official echoed your opinion, you would call it censorship. But I'm glad that at least you acknowledge that rape and murder should not be allowed.
No. If a Homeland Security official said you're not allowed to live stream murder, Matt Taibbi here, now you're with us. You could settle this. Would you consider that censorship?
No, of course not.
Okay, there you go. Let's clip this, and maybe we can be played in the halls of Congress next time they call you in.
But you see, the tactic is so absurd. They don't want to ask you a difficult question. Should Hamas rhetoric be allowed on online? Right? Then we start to get into issues. This is like a stupid trial lawyer tactic. Goldman was actually funnier with this because he did it backwards. They usually do like, what color is the sky today, Mr. Taibbi?
Right.
Blue, right? Well, I'm glad you agree with me that the sky is blue. But he did did the
He messed it up and went to the punchline.
yeah, he went to the punchline with the setup. But she's doing the same thing. Is she an attorney? I forget. Wasserman.
Is she an attorney?
I don't know.
Is Wasserman Schmuck
I
an
get
attorney?
that vibe a little bit. But you know, it's that kind of questioning. Like you will agree with me that this ridiculous thing I just said is true. Yeah, but that was particularly irritating because I've answered that question like 5 million times over the last few years, and you know, one Google search would find me saying I am not a free speech absolutist. No, nobody is.
Right. Explain that, because one of the Republicans, not surprisingly, gave you a chance to fill that out. So what do you mean? Because you really explained that journalists actually favor limitations, but not these limitations that are legal and clear.
Right. So you know, we're all trained. What's libel? What's defamation? What are the particularly dangerous forms of libel, right? Like libel per se, like that's the kind of thing where, you know, somebody who sues you is going to have an automatically strong argument that you massively disrupted their ability to make money, to have a family. And so that's things like accusing somebody of sexual deviance, of, you know, pedophilia, a very serious crime, right? That'll especially a financial crime that's going to impact your business. So you learn all these things, and that
hence allegedly,
right? Hence allegedly, but more importantly, like you have to lock it down before you publish it, and it's important to have those rules because that not only does that keep us honest, but it also lets us know that when we're right, if we got the evidence and everything, that the law is going to protect us. All right. So those prohibitions, those restrictions, like, you know, cases like New York Times v. Sullivan, those are very important for investigative journalists because they tell us exactly where the lines are, and how far you can go, and how much you can say with X amount of evidence, right? And without that, it would be terrifying. Like if there were no rules at all and people could just sue you, like this is a little bit the case in England, right? Where you can be right, 100% right, and still get creamed in court. That's
or cancel you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, or cancel you, right? And so yeah, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on, but
no.
All those rules we've always been in favor of those rules because they clarify the situation for us. And if we screw, you know, if there's a mistake, it's adjudicated. You go before a court. You have a chance at least to argue that you got it right. This new system has no rules. You don't know where the line is. They can do anything to you at any time, and that's what's so scary. Like there's nothing to protect journalists. So anyway, that's just frustrating.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say. Like that's the whole point. When they talk about terms of service, as Dan Goldman will talk about in the next clip that we have, and you talked about in that clip that we just saw, you know, I'm not against terms of service when it comes to a platform like YouTube where we are now. Like, to have terms of service is fine. They just have to be clear and they have to be enforced fairly with a human perspective. You can't just send an AI robot out there to enforce the terms of service. So, like, obviously, Debbie Wasserman Schulz used just a ridiculously extreme example of live streaming a horrific, violent crime.
Right.
But for example, like there are certain pieces of video out of Gaza that we can't show on YouTube because it's too graphic, it's too violent, and we kind of know that because their rules about violent content are fairly clear, and so we just don't break them. But then they have other rules, like the one that Matt Orfalea I guess, broke when he made that video that I think it was either for your outlet or you shared it about the 2016 election denialism on the Democrats' part. And he was making this point about how, they're all over Donald Trump for denying the 2020 results. But here's this montage of Democrats basically insinuating that Russia stole the 2016 election. He wasn't making any claims at all about any election being invalid. He was simply making a point about how hypocritical the Democrats were. Of course, an AI robot sniffing around doesn't know that. And so they gave him a strike for that, and they took that down. And that's an example of the rules being really murky and not enforced with any consistency, any accountability. That's what makes it dangerous. So it's not that you want a Wild West situation where everyone can say everything up to including, threats, slurs, things like that. No, have terms of service, but make them clear, like you were just talking about. It's important to have boundaries so that you know where they are and what they are.
Right, and you can even in YouTube, they can ding you for something that you haven't even published yet. It can be in the queue, ready to go, and the robot will detect it, and you can get a strike for that. And this just gets back to the whole question of like, do you want a rule of law society where there's a set of clear rules, you get to argue it and before some kind of process. I mean, this is sort of basic America Fifth Amendment stuff. The terms of service, you would like it to approximate that, right? Where you would have some kind of process.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Yes.
Right. And they don't, right? And the problem with that is that I think there's this tendency now to just say it's okay for things to be done behind closed doors by the quote unquote responsible people, and leave it at that, and trust us, and you can't. That's the whole point. Right, like our whole society is built on the notion that you cannot trust people to exercise power in a responsible way. That you need to have checks and balances on it constantly because people will screw other people, and you're seeing this drift towards this non-rules based society, which is very frustrating.
Please clap.